All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us again for another episode of Stormcast. I'm your host, John Willis, here with your co host, Brad Willis. And Happy New Year's, everyone. We are here to recap the most recent week of Hurricanes games. As you know, last episode, if you did view, was a little bit of a Christmas special. We went through, talked about the gifts in air quotes there, that Santa has brought us so far as Hurricanes fans at this point in the season. They were more lumps of coal than gifts, but it looks like maybe Santa had some late gifts come in with this most recent week full of wins. So it was a good week overall. The Canes went 3-0 on the week, defeating the Nashville Predators, the Montreal Canadiens, and the Toronto Maple Leafs. What were your general kind of thoughts, quick takeaways on the overall week, the feelings?
Oh, it was a very good week. I mean, I think the Canes management is watching our podcast because some of the things we talked about started to come through in the last three games.
Definitely.
There were some
Yeah,
things that we mentioned that needed to be improved, and it looks like they addressed all of those. But we'll get into some other things as this discussion moves along. I thought, that after the first couple minutes of each of the games, I thought we were in command of all three games. I
yes.
know that was it the Canadians that tied us up late, and I know that we only won by one goal against Toronto.
Yes, it was the
But
Canadians.
I still think that we were the better team in all three games. I didn't think even though Kochetkov played really, really well, he didn't need to steal a game because we were in control of the game.
Right, right.
That's my feeling.
Yeah, no, that's a good assessment of the week. I feel the same in terms of the fact that the Hurricanes really got back to playing Hurricane style hockey. Not every one of them was a grinded out type of win in the sense where we were heavily outnumbering the other team in terms of the number of shots on goal. In fact, some of these games this week we were actually outshot, but we were 3-0 on the
Right.
week. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Nashville game, which was the first game of the week on Wednesday. 5-2 was your final score. Sebastian Aho got it started on the power play, followed by Brent Burns also on the power play. That was in the first period. Gustav Nyquist for Nashville opened it up the scoring in the second period, followed by Svechnikov. Then Ryan O'Reilly answers on the power play to make it 3-2. Jack Drury gets another one to make it 4-2, and Seth Jarvis at the end of the second period has the third power play goal of the game for the Carolina Hurricanes to
Yeah.
make it 5-2, which is your final score. No scoring happens in the third period. Canes are 3 for 6 on the power play and 3 for 4 on the penalty kill on the night. Nashville does get a power play goal, but when you're 3 for 6 on the power play, that's pretty excellent.
Yeah.
This was a really good game overall by the Hurricanes here.
Agreed.
They Kochetkov, yeah, like you said, was really solid, but he didn't necessarily need to steal the game. They did weather the storm, the Canes there in the third period. Once they had the 5-2 lead, they just what's batting down the hatches there, and
Right.
we're able to, like I said, withstand the storm. Nashville did put on a bunch of shots there in the third period, but nothing that I can recall that was super high danger. Yeah, so Aho
Well,
gets 3
right.
points on this game. Burns has 2 points. Jarvis another 2 points, and Svechnikov as well. So Svechnikov started his week off strong. Aho continues what he's been doing, and Brett Burns has kind of built his season up here and is starting to put some points together. So that was really strong. Kochetkov has a 9.45 save percentage on the day. Special teams, the big boys really playing well. And goaltending. Those were your kind of keys to your
Mhm.
win on that game there. What else did you have to say about that game?
Well, it's just some interesting events of the game. Um, it's one of the few games that we took less penalty minutes than the opponent. The O'Reilly goal was, Peter could have just sat down.
Yeah, I mean, both of their goals were
And,
pretty fortunate bounces
yeah,
for them. Kochetkov does make the first save on both chances. The first one, he makes a save either from the high slot or maybe it was from the point. Puck kind of bounces out to the side, and a Nashville player just happens to be skating around the back of the net at that same time, falls right to his skate and just puts it in an open net. So pretty easy for him there. And then the next one, Ryan O'Reilly, it's actually on the power play for Nashville. But yeah, Chekhov makes a save. It's kind of scramble in front of the net. He's not exactly sure where it is. Happens to be directly under his butt, and all he had to do is just sit on it. But O'Reilly, with the sharp eagle eye, spots it, scoops it up, and just backhands.
Yeah, and Kochetkov made a really nifty. Excuse me, Kochetkov made a really nifty back leg swivel save. Do you remember that?
Oh one? Yeah, that was great.
That was awesome.
In the third period. Yeah, the player, I can't remember who it was, but he makes a really good play. Basically, kind of on the rush, pulls it and does a little backhand toe drag through his own legs, pulls it around the backhand as if he's going to do kind of a wrap around. But this new thing that players are doing, you've seen them all do it pretty lately the past few seasons. They'll, instead of wrapping it all the way around, they tuck it back in near side because the goalie has overextended themselves, right? Yeah. So they leave a little bit of room behind the goalie to tuck it back in. Kochetkov is smart enough to anticipate that. And is he the first goalie to make this type of save,
Probably not, but it was just so visible and it was a crucial time.
Yeah, he clearly has a knack for keeping the puck out of the net by any means necessary. He's the most fun type of goalie to watch in that sort of sense. I think of Dominic Hasek, guys who are sprawling, but they'll maybe look kind of out of control, but they get the saves, and at the end of the day, that's what the job is. So, that was.
We'll talk about. There was another save throughout the three games that we can talk about. Just a couple of notes I had.
Yeah, go ahead.
I thought the Orlov Chatfield pairing played really well that game.
Yeah, they've been good.
And Martin Nuke was very disruptive in that game. So that's really all I had on the Preds game.
No, that's good. Like I said, it's a good win. Final shots in that game, I believe, were 37-25. I've got it here. So yeah, Carolina actually heavily outshot that game, but we managed to pull off the win. 37-22 for the faceoffs in Carolina's favor. That's another kind of notable stat there. Excuse me.
The Canes dominated the faceoff circle. They won 63%. Again, Canes just don't play that type of game where they're hitting people or blocking shots a lot.
Yeah, 10 block shots on that game.
So Preds had 17 block shots, the Canes 10. Okay.
All right, now, next game here was the following day, Thursday, Montreal versus Carolina. Your first game back for Antti Raanta here. So what were you kind of expecting? What were you hoping to see? What did we see for Raanta? What were your thoughts on him getting the start? Let's put it there.
Well, we're in a stretch where we had 3 games in 4 days, so we had to play somebody else.
Yep.
And I was just rooting for him. I think that the announcers made a couple comments about how the Carolina Hurricane fans, the Caniacs, were rooting for Raanta. They know what he's been going through. Mm-hmm. I think I was scared, nervous early, but once he got a couple saves under his belt, I felt him growing into the game a little bit. Wasn't a great save percentage game, but he didn't face a lot of shots, I don't think.
You say it's not a great save percentage game. It still brings up his stats. I looked into it.
Did it really?
Yep. So he saves 18 out of 21. He lets in 3 goals on 21 shots. So
yeah,
that's 1 out of every 7 he's letting in. That's I had it here. Let's see. That is a point. Obviously, it's a point. 0.857 save percentage. His save percentage on the season, as of right now, is either 8.55 or 8.56, depending on what site you go to and how they round it. So yeah. I agree. Yeah, I was really happy to see him get this. Not necessarily happy at the situation, right? You'd love to throw a goalie who you're confident in out there. Hopefully, he can find his confidence. I think that is the biggest issue with this game, and kind of what I noticed in particular, during this game as well. Again, we do get the win. I'm really happy for him that he does get the win. I'm happy for him to be back in the NHL. I think his game is still not quite where he wanted to be. We'll kind of get into that as I talk about, this actual game as a whole here. So, Svechnikov opens up the scoring pretty shortly into the game, 135 into the game. He gets his 4th of the season. So he starts the scoring this game, and will also end the scoring of this game here. Jesper Foss then later in the period gets his 3rd of the game, followed by 2 late period. One goal at 13:51 by the Canadians, and then a dangerously late period goal by the Canadians again. That one especially, I think Ronta would want back.
That's the wraparound.
The first one, and I even wrote down as I was kind of watching this game in my notes that I'm definitely going to be kind of overly critical and just overly watchful in terms of every goal that happens for him. I like the guy so much, and I know me in particular in the past have given him passes at if it's a questionable goal, I'm going to lean in his favor and say, oh no, you should, you can't ask the goalie to make a save like that, but you do have to ask the goalie to make save eventually. And so that's kind of where I'm at with him. Even on the first goal that he did give up, he slides over. It's a good backhander. It's a bing bang play, quick play. The Montreal player does elevate the puck from his backhand, but when Ronta's sliding over, he's falling down, so he's making himself a little bit small. Now, again, if he stays up higher as he slides over, does he make that save? Probably not. But again, I'm just kind of looking at every aspect of his game and kind of seeing, is he putting himself in a position to succeed?
And I'm looking at the same thing.
Luckily, he's on a good team, and luckily the team is playing well in front of him. They showed his stats. I took a picture of this before the game, and these stats are unbelievable, and it should give you hope in Antti Raanta, and it should give you hope in the Carolina Hurricanes. Let me find this stat. Go ahead and vamp on this game if you don't mind.
Okay, yeah. Well, you mentioned the first 2 goals of the game. Both of those were from Burns' assists. So Burns is noticeably throwing the biscuit toward the basket.
Yes.
And Kane's style of loving the garbage that's how we play. We have a couple skill guys on our team, but for the most part, we're going to get rebounds. We're going to get dirty goals. Svech made a good deflection. I had wrote down that I thought Burns had scored that goal, but obviously Svech hit his stick and deflected in. Yeah. And then the second one, it was a hard rebound. That Fast was there to gobble up. And I made a note later on in that period that Burns is throwing the puck, and that's what we brought up in our last telecast. Was he just needs to throw the puck as long as people are around the net, throw the puck. I thought
I can't find it here, but it was something crazy, and it was Antti Raanta in since 2022 and 2023, in 2022 and 2023, and I don't have these stats 100% accurate, but at home, Antti Raanta is something like 37, 3, and 4 at PNC Arena. Okay. I saw that, and I can't find the picture on my phone, but I saw that on the broadcast, and I thought that was an absolutely unbelievable stat. I didn't double check that stat. Again, this was the Bally Sports broadcast. Who knows how accurate that actually is? We know Bally Sports' issues, but if that stat is true, it should give you some hope in Antti Raanta, and it should give you some hope in the Carolina Hurricanes being able to win with any keeper in the net, because those numbers are unbelievable. It was him at home
last year,
from 2022 for 2022 and 2023, not just last season, but in the year of 2022 and 2023, he was like 37 or 34, 3 and 4 or something ridiculous like that.
He had a great year last year. I mean, he's had a couple good years.
The guy knows how to win, and I hope he can find his game. That being said, on just the very first shot on goal of this game, do you remember? It was very shaky. Okay, so it's a shot kind of from the left circle. He takes it off his stick down low, maybe off the pad, and he's trying to flick it into the corner like the goalie does. trying to handle that rebound and push it away. He flips it basically straight up into the air, probably goes like 10, 15 feet up in the air. Meanwhile, there's a Montreal player right outside the crease waiting to bat it out of the air.
Yeah.
He does hit it out of the air. Ronta is in position to make the save, but he's just kind of there, and he thinks he has it, so he's just frozen. So he's assuming it's caught in his gear somewhere, right? Ultimately, the puck is kind of right behind him, and luckily one of our players kind of comes through and is able to scoop that up. But a tough sequence, especially as a fan, to see that right out the gate from him in his first game back. Not exactly the most inspiring. And again, he does give up the second goal of the game was a late period goal, like 3.9 seconds left or something like that. Yeah, He bites on a near post chance and can't recover for the rebound. On the wraparound.
Yeah, Matheson wraps around.
Excuse me, not on the rebound, on the wraparound. The player makes a good play, but his side to side movement is really just kind of. It seems to be slow, and then also from a confidence perspective, he really challenged hard on that initial play. Like
I guess I would have been a lot more worried had we not started off with a two-goal lead. Because he gave up a goal in the fourth shot.
Like I said, he's got that great stat line. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he does get the win in this game. And that was inspiring. And the Canes fans were really behind him. You could tell, even from the broadcast.
And the players were too, I noticed.
Yeah, they really wanted. Yeah, and the players played well in front of him. But yeah, it was 2-2 to end that period. And that's a tough first period to end with because they played so well. The Hurricanes played so well that period. And to come out of it 2-2 is like, okay, well, now we're starting the game over again, even though we put in a lot of effort and we should be up in some metric, So yeah, it was tough. Then in the second period though, Jesper Fast gets a goal on a one-timer.
Well, that was a great pass again from Nason. He's making a living with those behind the net, no look kind of passes.
Yeah. So in the first period, Fost has a very similar effort and kind of whiffs on it, but luckily he stays around the net and is able to poke in a rebound for the first goal of the game for him in the first period. And then the second period, he kind of redeems himself because he is in that same spot. He does get the pass. He does hit the one-timer. Beautiful laser of a shot, kind of goes across the grain there, across the goalie's body, stick side, blocker side, to beat the keeper for his second of the game. Then later in the game, in the third period, just 25 seconds in, Josh Anderson gets a rebound. How many times have we seen this play from the Carolina Hurricanes? Block shot from the point.
Yeah.
The guy who blocks the shot takes it off the shin pads, gets past the defender, and then takes the breakaway and finishes.
It's a 5-hole goal.
How many times have we seen that?
Yeah, Ronta didn't have his stick on the ice. It was a 5-hole goal. I guess that flies in the face of my.
There's two defensemen on the ice, okay? So if the guy does make the shot block, there's supposed to be a guy able to hustle back and at least make it difficult.
Not our defenseman.
He's nowhere to be found on the play.
Unless Chatfield's on the ice, no one's going to catch anybody.
Then don't take that shot.
But that flies in the face of what we said about the first earlier on. Burns was trying to throw the puck at the net, and Anderson had closed on him quicker than he expected.
I'm sorry, on our first goal of the game?
No, the what you're just talking about the block shot leading to a breakaway. Burns grabbed it, he threw it, but Anderson had closed so quickly that if it doesn't get by, it's going to lead to a disaster. And no one's going to catch him at that point.
I believe it was Shea on that one.
Oh, was it? Okay.
I believe it was, but I could be wrong about that. Maybe it was Burns, but I'm pretty sure that was Shea.
Oh, I didn't write down. I just said block shot leads to Anderson breakaway.
Anyways, it's hard to fault a goalie again on the breakaway, but we are talking about Ronta here. He was signed down to the AHL. I do think it is important to analyze his game.
Yeah.
There's 10 things you can do on a breakaway as a shooter. There's 10 of them.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's the easiest one to save, but it's the one that can, in a certain way, be the most routine to save, the 5-hole, right? All you have to do is have your stick flat on the ice.
Right.
All you have to do is keep it in position. Now, what players do is they go from backhand to forehand or vice versa to get the goalie to open up, to shift them just a little bit.
Right.
And as they're sliding, it's very hard to keep your stick perfectly in position because you're moving, right? And so they slide it through the 5-hole. But Ranta knows this. He's a veteran in the NHL. It's key to point out that that is a savable goal for him. So I would say at least 2 out of the 3 goals in this game that he gives up,
Yeah.
you could
You could have
you could
saved.
make the save on. And the thing is, it's okay if he gives up one of them, but you can't give up 2 of them. Luckily, we are playing well enough in front of him that it didn't matter this game. We played really well.
Yeah.
And Svechnikov gets the hat trick once he does get his 5th and 6th of the season, his 2nd and 3rd of the game, to close out the 3rd period. His 5th game-winning goal, 5th of the season, which would be the game-winning goal. He gets at 13:51, and then with about 19 seconds left, which happens to be on the power play as well, he gets an empty net goal. Aho with a very quiet 4-point game this night, all assists. Doing really well, and then Burns also has a handful of points this game.
3 assists that game.
3 assists. There you go. So
Yeah.
top guys are staying hot. That's what we were talking about last podcast. You can't have all 3 things fail in certain games, or we can't have 2 out of the 3 things fail, right? Your offense needs to produce, your defense has to play well, and your goaltending. And that offense is generally going to come from your top guys. So when your top guys are generating, it's remarkable that this week we haven't maybe once you've mentioned him earlier in the podcast, Nason. He was the guy we were all over last week because he was playing the most consistent in terms of offensive production, right?
Yeah.
For a while. And he is playing well. I think he just had 1 point on the 3 games, but
2 points, 2 assists.
2 assists. Okay. And then Drew Ray, I believe, also had 2 points, goal and an assist.
Goal and assist.
So those
2
guys
points.
are, those guys who you don't expect to produce are still producing. And then on top of that, top guys are producing. Power play has stayed hot. So again, another good win there over the Canadians. Any other thoughts on that game here?
Just a couple points, data points. Yep. This is one of the few games I've seen where we actually out-hit the opponent, and it was accentuated by Nason drilling Slavkovsky in the 3rd period. I love to see that.
Good clean hit. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I forgot about that. Good clean hit. Slavkovsky puts himself in a dangerous situation, and this is going to be a conversation that's probably going to be happening for the next, handful of years in the NHL about head hits versus guys putting themselves in bad situations or turning into head hits or turning into the boards at the last second when guys are about to go clean hit shoulder to shoulder, and then they turn and place their numbers at the incoming hit, and of course they get their head driven directly into the board. So Slavkovsky puts himself in a bad position here, and there is a little bit of head contact, but by no means is they head hunting or anything like that. Yep. And he drops Slavkovsky. It was a good clean hit near the end of the game, I think.
Yeah, it was at the after the 6-minute mark. So within 6 minutes left to go in the game. So my biggest takeaway about this game, outside of the Ranta drama, is, to me, it looks like Svechnikov is back to where he was. Yeah. That was his 3rd career hat trick.
Yeah, his hat trick, he was great. The first one was a deflection, which isn't something
that was fantastic.
Yeah, so it's good. He gets a tip on a Brett Burns shot. Burns stays hot, gets another assist. Svechnikov gets his that would be his 4th of the season. Then later in the game, he gets a one-timer
power play, right?
Yep. Yeah, wrister, slap shot, I don't know, snapshot, whatever you want to call it.
Oh yeah, that was the game. That was the shot where the defenseman closed out.
Oh, super close. The defenseman was right on him, but for some reason just didn't get stick on stick.
But Svech's concentration and he was committed to that shot, and it worked.
Yep. He beats the goaltender. I believe it was stick side.
Yeah, high right.
Shoulder off a set play off of a face-off there. So Aho wins the draw clean, hands it to Pesce. Pesce fires it over to Svechnikov, who one time's in the back of the net.
Okay, one thing to point out is, correct me if I'm wrong, but 2 of these games were on the road.
Nashville was home.
No, we flew home to
Nashville was away. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
You're 100% correct.
we
Nashville.
had to fly home overnight to host the Canadians, and then we went to Toronto.
Yep, you're
So let's
absolutely right.
talk about Toronto.
Yep. Another good game here. Hurricanes get this one closed out 3-2 versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. Good game overall. Bunting gets a little bit of revenge, so to say, or retribution against his former team for not wanting to re-sign him or not giving him a good enough offer and having him opt for Carolina. So good to see him get on the board against his former team. He gets the scoring started in the first period at 2:24 with a power play goal. Aho, man, he's had a great week up into this point. And yeah, power play goal finds Bunting in the slot alone. Bunting one times it past
he willed that game. He willed that puck through.
Yep.
But that was good to see. And he
was excited.
realized
he gives a
the
little bit
magnitude
of
it.
you remember me from the crowd?
Yeah,
Gives
exactly.
a little bit of that as he's going into the corner. So it was good to see. And then Jarvis in the second period has a power play goal of his own. With Svechnikov and again Sebastian Aho being the assisters on that play.
So that play to me, and the announcer said it quickly, that was like 8 seconds into a power play. Sorry. And they said something to the effect of,
was that one right in? You're positive on that one? Because that one was the one that was like a 2-on-1.
I thought that was well, here, let me find it.
That was the 2-on-1. Aho makes a really nice play at the line. He kind of
no. Svech grabbed it, dropped it, saucered it over.
Was that early
in the power play goal?
I remember
that was right after Domi got called for holding. It was
okay. Excellent. I just didn't realize it was kind of at the start of that power play. But good. No, that was an excellent play. Very close to being offsides, but just enough. Svechnikov catches the puck out of midair. Aho passes it to him, but it's kind of a saucer pass. Svechnikov catches it, throws it down in front, and then very quickly on a 2-on-1 slides it over to Jarvis. Jarvis just able to tap it through Jones. Jones lets his second of the night through on a 5-hole. So maybe that's kind of the MO versus him.
So there was a play after the Bunting score, the Bunting power play, where Matthews is carrying the puck. He's carrying the puck down the right side, and he goes between a forward and a defenseman. And I wrote down the note, you got to drill Matthews.
Yeah.
Well, I don't understand why he went right between those two. Just stick out an arm.
I don't know specifically the play you're talking about. I know Svechnikov had a decent hit on him earlier in the game.
Yeah.
And I can't remember else. I think it might have been KK had a hit on him.
So Matthews definitely showed his frustration. He drew a penalty. He might have had
the Leafs in general were frustrated this game.
Yeah.
All of them they're huge babies. They cry and call for every single thing. Now, our players do that too. Not on every single one though. I can think of off the top of my head right now, Tavares, Matthews, Marner. At least those three guys on individual plays calling for calls with their hands up in the air, right?
Yeah.
At one point, Matthews takes a penalty, right? He trips.
Yeah, and he slams the puck.
And then he slams the puck back in the direction of Martinook, who's on the ice up against the boards.
Right.
Because Matthews just tripped him. And it's like, okay, well, you should at least have a talking to.
Yeah.
It probably should get another 4 minutes for shooting the puck back in the direction, shooting the puck in general.
Unsportsmanlike conduct.
That's an unsportsmanlike conduct call right there. Yeah. And so, just a bunch of babies. But what do you expect from a team that's, thinks they're all high and mighty and can't get it past the second round of the playoffs?
Well, I did make a note in here that
poor little Carolina Hurricanes.
They're a talented team.
A handful of times. They are a handful. They are a very talented team. Yeah. They are a good team. I would really like to have some of their players on our team. Yeah. We've had some of their players on our team. But yeah, and then in the third period, Timothy Liljegren, he has a really nice shot from the slot that beats Kochetkov. Kochetkov, I actually think, plays this really well. He stays on his feet, but the shot's just a laser of a shot. Goes right over.
No one's going to stop that shot.
But Kochetkov's, he's confident. He stays on his feet for it, right? He doesn't just drop right away and cover the low net. So it's good to see, even though the goal does get in, the kid's playing confident, which I like to see.
Yeah.
Aho then does get the empty netter with just under a minute to go in the game. So there's a late power play for the Hurricanes. So that helps kind of not allow the Maple Leafs to build any momentum late in the game. They do pull their goalie. Sebastian Aho does get the empty netter. And then late game, Toronto does end up scoring, but Kochetkov with what could have been the save of the year, just an amazing save to dive over. And, I wrote one thing about this, and I don't want to dwell on it too long because we talk about it most episodes, or I know I've mentioned it before. He gets over. It looks like he makes the save. The goal on the ice is no goal, but the Maple Leafs players, of course, like I said, they've been doing all game. They're saying, "Oh no, that's in the back of the net." So then they go look at it, and I think, of course, the referees do probably make the right call. It probably did cross the line. But what is conclusive evidence? What does that mean to you? Because to me, it means there cannot be a shadow of a doubt. There is not a chance that any way in hell it's not the right call. And there's never at any point through any of the camera angles that you see where you see the puck clearly over the line.
No,
you see the glove, and where you assume the puck is in that glove.
Right.
Kind of on the line, near the line. So you're assuming that the puck, based on where you think it is in the glove, is across the goal line, but you're making assumptions to get there and rule that.
That's exactly what happened.
And it's so frustrating because as soon as there's a challenge, I go, it's not going Carolina's way. Like, unless there's, I would say 10% of the time when there's a challenge, I'm like, yes, I'm confident, and yes, it's going to be in Carolina's favor. Yeah. Less than 10% of the time whenever I see, and we've got the slow-mo cameras, we've got multiple looks, and every time I'm just consistently disappointed by the referees and what they end up calling.
Yeah. So we outshot.
Not watching.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Or the Canes aren't playing, excuse me, that I'm watching that the Canes aren't playing in.
So we outshot them 28-27, but they dominated in the face-off, 61%.
Yep.
We were 50% on the power play, 2 for 4. They were 0 for 3.
Yep.
They had more penalty minutes. We had more block shots, fewer giveaways. So we played pretty well in Toronto.
Yeah, no, it was a good game. The Hurricanes, they deserved the victory in that game. 2 for 4 on the power play, like you said. So the power play stays red hot. Penalty kill stays red hot. What they let up one power play goal in the 3 games for this week. I don't remember.
Well, they dropped to 10th in the penalty kill. They were 9th, but they moved up to 5th in the power play.
Excellent.
I don't know when the last time a Carolina Hurricanes team has had a power play.
Okay, so we do give up. We give up a power play goal or penalty. A short. Yeah, we gave up a power play goal against both Montreal and Nashville. They each had one, but she holds out. Toronto, who's got arguably the most dangerous power play. They don't get any. So stay hot on the penalty kill. The goalies played well enough, particularly Kochetkov has been playing really, really well. Ronta played well enough to get the game that he played. And yeah, your top guys are your top guys. Sebastian Aho, number 1 star of the week, right? NHL's number 1 star of the week?
Well, he was a hockey guy. I don't know if he was NHL's, but probably. Yeah. Yeah. But, he had 2 goals in 3 games, but it's so funny. The number 2 star, I think, was
no, he was not. It's so annoying. Oh no, yeah, he is. Yeah, Aho leads 3 stars of the week. Sebastian Aho, Artemi Panarin, and Luke Hughes are your 3 stars.
So Panarin had 5 goals in 3 games. But he
5
only had
goals,
one assist.
1 assist. Luke Hughes, 3 goals, 2 assists in 5 games. Now these are both, or excuse me, in 3 games. Those are both in 3 games. And Sebastian Aho, 2 goals, 9 assists for 11 points in 3 games. Yeah, Sebastian Aho's having a really good week for the Carolina Hurricanes.
So a couple things I noticed today when looking at the stats. You mentioned Luke Hughes. He's the number 1 scoring defenseman right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's surpassed Quinn and Makar.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Scratch that. Quinn Hughes is the number 1.
Yeah, Quinn is number 1.
I heard the Hughes name in defenseman. So no, Quinn.
Yeah,
and Makar's second.
Yeah, Quinn and Makar have been going back and forth all season.
But Luke Hughes is really maturing very quickly. He's becoming just like Quinn almost in terms of his capabilities. But I want to talk about the 3 games. And when we talked at Christmas, we talked about the Stars getting going. We've had that theme a couple times. Well, Aho and Svechnikov have got going.
Yep.
And maybe this feeds into the studs and duds of the week. But there are several guys that had 0 points in those 3 games.
Yep.
Guys that should be scoring points.
Yeah, so before we get into that, real quickly, let's just recap. Feelings on the week. Can't complain about the week. You love to see Antti Ranta get a win under his belt. Kochetkov stays playing great. Even though Ranta does get the win, he does look a little bit shaky. So that's the kind of main thing I'm concerned about as far as takeaways of concern on the week.
Yeah.
But you're always concerned with him at this point of the season. We've been at that level of concern with him. But yeah, great week overall by the Hurricanes. Penalty kill stays hot. The top players are playing great. Go ahead and go through those stats on those top guys. Aho, Svechnikov, and Burns. Aho, like I just read off, had 2 goals, 9
assists. Svech had 4 goals, 3 assists, 7 points. Jarvis, 2 goals, 1 assist, 3 points. Bunting had 2 points, goal and assist.
Just the top guys. What about Brent Burns?
Burns had 1 goal and 4 assists, 5 points.
5 points. So that's good. Burns is, he's been needing.
I didn't write down all the defensemen. It's just Burns because.
No, that's fine. That's the one we talk about when we talk about guys producing offensively. You don't expect the production out of the other guys. I know Pesci at least had an assist. I think
he had
on the week.
He had a goal maybe too, or was it an assist? Anyway.
Yeah, so I've got all those pulled up if you do want to talk about individual players. But yeah, the top guys are staying hot. Let me just go ahead and recap the week. The penalty kill, the power play stays hot, the goaltending stays hot. So that's kind of your main storylines of the week. Jesper Fast, one thing I did want to mention, I wanted to give a brief shout out to him. He had 2 goals and an assist in this week. He did get injured was it the first period of the game against Montreal?
Was that
Montreal, Toronto?
He got a head thing, right?
Yeah, he took
a hit.
Yeah. He took a hit to the head. Tripp made a whole thing about it, about that player targeting Foss versus Nason's hit being a clean hit. Tripp went a little far on that one. There's no malintent. Yeah, there's no malintent on it. But Foss, I just wanted to give a little shout out. A guy you don't really think about putting the pucks in the back of the net, has 2 goals and an assist in 2. He 3 games, but really 2 in the 3rd game. He only played I believe it was the first period where he got injured. So shout out to him. We hope he's going to recover soon. But yeah, that's kind of the storyline of the week, the takeaways of the week. And then let's go ahead and get into the studs and duds. I know my studs of the week are going to be just your top guys in general. We just kind of went through it. Burns, Svechnikov, and then Sebastian Aho being just remarkably hot as of late.
I didn't look at Burns plus minus, but Kochetkov stopped 60 of 64 for and 9 of 10 on the power play. He had a .938 save percentage for the week.
That's
for the 2 games that he was in.
That's excellent.
Yeah, he's now up on the season at 900 percentage.
Yeah, and keep in mind those 2 teams that he played are playoff teams at this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Ranta, he does improve his stats. I went through it. It was 857 was his save percentage on the week, which
Yeah.
brings his total for the year up to 855, 856, something like that. So does barely improve it, but yeah, go ahead. What else were you
Well,
getting
I
into?
saw Aho had jumped to the 15th in scoring
Okay,
in the
that's good.
league, so that's good. Yeah, he hadn't been up there in a while.
Mhm.
We are now in a playoff position. Where were we at Christmas? Were we
Second
at the
then
second wild
second in
card?
the division. Where were we last Christmas? I'm not sure where we. Oh,
No,
at
no, no. No, when we last spoke,
Oh, no. We were not in the playoff position.
we weren't. We were just
That was
outside,
one of
right?
Santa's gifts, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were just outside of a playoff position and 3 games in a row. Like I said, and that was my New Year's resolution. We made resolutions. That was my
Yeah, you
resolution
want to
that I
get
won
3 games in a row.
three games in a row, and they did it before the New Year. So I am gonna have to make a new New Year's resolution at the end of this podcast.
So Rangers coming up tomorrow, Capitals on Friday, and the Blues on Saturday. The
Okay,
first two
well,
are
hold
away.
up. Studs and duds. Finish it off.
Okay.
Who are your studs? Who are your duds?
Aho, Svech, and Kochetkov.
Okay,
My
beautiful.
duds, Natchez, Turbo, and KK.
Yep, those are my. We didn't talk before this podcast. Those are exactly my studs, exactly my duds. 0 points on the week for those 3 fellas, KK, Turbo, and Natchez. I believe that KK has 1 point in his last 15 games.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on
I,
there.
I think that's right.
And the thing is, John, I get confused as to who's on whose line. But obviously, you would think it's
Well,
the
these guys
scoring is
have been
line centric.
yeah, these guys have been playing together on a line for parts of this. Bunting
Yeah,
swaps in a little bit. Nason's been inserted to try to bring some energy. Um, but yeah, at one point this was the 80s line, right? They're all players with numbers in their 80s, and they're playing like they're 80 years old, not getting any points. That's a
so
little bad.
Jarvis is so Svech started. He came back. He was on the 4th line. They keep moving. Is Svech with Aho now and Jarvis?
Yeah. Well, they had the SAT line at points recently. I'm not exactly sure what the line pairings are.
Right, right. And
As of right
I
now.
think
But yeah,
Rod's mixing them up a little bit.
yeah, he's trying to get those 3 guys activated. Like we said, 0 points for those 3 in the last week. So past 3 games, those guys have been uneventful. But your top guys, and when I say top guys, I mean Aho and Svech. Those guys are playing like they need to. Plus, you get a little auxiliary scoring from Bunting, a little auxiliary scoring from Jack Drury and Nason, and that's how you
Yeah,
string 3 wins together in a week,
yeah.
especially paired with some good goaltending. So, um, well done for those. Okay, what else do we got there? Studs and duds. Let's go ahead and take a look at the standings. Right now, we are second in the Metropolitan, so that's excellent, and that's going to go ahead and lead me right into the New Year's resolution. We got 3 wins in a row. It might be lofty. I know we were poo-pooing the team pretty hard last week in terms of the overall level of optimism. I don't want to sound like I'm flip-flopping on a dime, but I do think if we can keep this up, we can pressure the Rangers for the top spot in the division. They've got a pretty sizable lead. I believe it's do you have it in front of you?
I have in front of me. They are at 43 point. Wait a minute. Sorry. They're at 51 and we're at 44, but they have 2 games in hand.
2 games
So
in hand. So 7 points, 2 games in hand. I'm not saying we're going to come back and win the division. I don't think that if you were to gun to my head, I'm going to say no. We're not going to be able to do that.
no.
I do think we can challenge for it. I think we can make it a little bit more interesting than we thought just a little bit ago. So
Yeah.
as long as the goaltending stays hot, as long as the team stays healthy, that's another X factor that the team is finally fully healthy. Is anyone really injured? Anderson?
Well, how long's Fast going to be out? That's the question.
Fast, yep. Now that Jesper's out, hopefully that's not too big of a hit
And
on
Anderson, is there any word on Anderson?
I don't think there's any sort of timetable for his return. The team said a little bit ago that he was expected to start skating with the team in about a month. But what is skating with the team? How active in practice is he
Yeah.
going to be? Is he going to take a couple practices, get the woozies, and pull himself out? Like,
Yeah.
there's no timetable for that. The goaltending situation,
I think
I
it's settling down that Kochetkov is the guy. There's no
yeah,
reason not to make him the guy.
no, I think that's fine. I don't think the team has any issues with that at this point. I think the issue is, can they outweight the Ronta situation? Can they outweight Anderson to come back before you need to rely on Ronta for some games? We're just got back in the playoffs. It was 1 week. Like, let's I said we can challenge the New York Rangers for the top of the Metro. We can. We still
We'll
have to
find
win
out
more games.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
We'll find out tomorrow. If
Yeah,
we
tomorrow.
win convincing tomorrow, then it's going to
Yeah.
put some fear in the Rangers'
And when we
eyes.
say tomorrow, we really mean tonight. We're recording this, what is this, Monday night, but this is going to come out Tuesday morning. So
Yeah.
tonight against the Rangers, is really going to be a pretty significant challenge. What else we got on the schedule there as far as the upcoming games?
Capitals on Friday in Washington, and then we're back home against the Blues on
Back
Saturday.
home against the Blues. Okay, so that's the most challenging game, of course, is going to be there versus the Rangers. The Capitals, I believe, still are in a playoff position.
Caps are no, they're not. They're just out of the wild card.
Okay, well, they're just out. Like, as we know, the parity in the league is so tight.
But they have games in hand.
Right, they've got games in
do.
hand. Yeah. So if you can find a way to get that game, and then of course the game against the Blues, back-to-backs are always hard, especially when it's not a home back-to-back. It's an away and home back-to-back.
Yeah.
Do have to do a little bit of flying. DC's not too far, but hopefully, if you can, get a couple wins this week, really going to start inspiring some optimism in the fans and really taking this to the next level in terms of, getting back to where we thought this team was going to be when this team was assembled before the season started.
A couple more stats, John.
Yep.
And then we can wrap up. And I have another. So right as of today, we're 4th in shots per game, and we're number 1 in shots against. Meaning we give up the fewest amount of shots.
Yep, that's great.
Does that weigh into our confidence about Ronta?
Yes.
Maybe not. I don't know. So the other thing I want to know
is
interesting.
And he's giving up the most in that amount. Then yes, that's that is highly, highly distressing.
Just think if they would have had a normal shots on goal.
Exactly.
Right. The other thing is Samsonov and Comrie both cleared. Was it Comrie? Both cleared waivers today.
Yeah, I saw that. I haven't seen Samsonov play. I haven't seen Comrie play. I think Samsonov's probably the one that's a little bit more targetable. But again, I think these guys also have some significant cap hits. Now, I don't know how that works.
Well, listen, unless they have a history of being solid goaltenders, which in my mind, neither one of them, I would say, oh my God, we got to get that guy.
Right.
I don't think it's incrementally worth going after either one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think that's it. I think that's all I had.
I think the front office is waiting for something to happen to give them a direction to go with on the situation. Those things that they're waiting on potentially to happen would be Anderson getting healthier and feeling confident that he's going to be able to play, Ronta getting better and feeling like the team is going to be able to rely on him for a few wins. And then, the other would be some of these teams coming down on their asking price for a goalie and letting us swoop in and get someone. Probably we're just looking for a stopgap, but because Kochetkov is playing well, so I think you are hopeful for him as far as the future is concerned. Anderson, you do have signed again next year. I don't know how much you're really relying on him to play, again,
Right. I wouldn't
especially this season, but
right.
So it's a tough situation. I think they're, like I said, I think they're waiting for something to happen to give them an indication on what to do, but you can't wait too long. Someone's going to get that good goaltender that is going to be a difference maker. We've got
I don't know, John, whether you heard it in the Toronto game, the broadcast. But evidently, in search of a goalie, someone had brought up, whether it's just the rumor mill in general, that Michael Bunting would be in play. Now, we've been thinking all along, maybe Pesce because he's on the contract, and I've been saying, if we're going to get rid of a forward, get rid of Natchez.
Yeah.
Because maybe he has enough pizzazz that someone may be drawn to that glitter. But that surprised me. That are we disappointed in Bunting?
I think there's so there are a couple things with that, and I don't have all the facts. I don't know too much about it. I haven't really looked too much about it. I haven't minded Bunting from an offensive perspective. I think he's been pretty much as advertised as far as that's concerned. I think he's got some good playmaking ability. He's finished his goals when he's had looks.
Yeah.
But on the defensive side, I do think he's lacking a little bit. I do think he gets disinterested at times of the game. So I think that plus, I don't know how much you've heard about this, but I've heard that there's been locker room troubles. There's locker room issues. I know even in the preseason, Bunting and Lemieux got into some sort of altercation, right? There was a fight at practice. There's been rumblings that there's been some sort of locker room issue. I don't know. There's been nothing to indicate that it's him, but maybe that's going on. Maybe that's
okay. Well, we'll wait and see.
So I don't know, all of it, but it doesn't necessarily surprise me that he's on the chopping block, especially because we're familiar with the players, that we've had before, right? He's a new guy. So it's easy to kind of be like, well, we didn't really know what we had, kind of make the decision and get rid of him. Right now, I think all three of those guys that we said as far as the duds should be concerned as far as potential trade bait. Natchez, Kotkaniemi, and Turbo. Now, I don't know if anyone is wanting to take on KK's kind of contract. It's a long-term contract, and especially if he's got 1 point in the last 15 games or something like that. It's something crazy like that. I had it pulled up here, but
okay. Let's call it a week, and let's hope that this week is as strong as last week. We still have 2 of the 3 games are going to be on away. So any production out of those games is going to be good.
Yep.
Especially the Caps.
In the month of December, Jesperi Kotkaniemi has 1 goal for 1 point in the entire month of December.
No assists.
No assists. Not one. So, yeah. It's been a tough go of it for him, but the Hurricanes are looking up. Thank you for listening. We really appreciate it. We're going to go ahead and get a little bit more editing features here soon. Hopefully you guys liked last episode. I really appreciate everyone who's watched and likes. I know, most of it is just people I've been sending the link to, but I really do appreciate it. It really does, mean a lot to me. So please keep supporting if you can. If you're interested at all, please share, subscribe, like. Thank you so much. Have a good week. Bye-bye.
All right.
Happy New Year.
Everyone have a good week. Bye.